Hello and welcome to EastMojo. I am Kalyan Deb and we join you live today for the special coverage of the Tripura Assembly election. Like many other states, Tripura has been marred by unemployment, inflation, violence, indigenous rights and many such issues. How crucial a role will these issues play as the people of Tripura cast their votes today? Will the Congress-CPIM alliance be able to overthrow the BJP government? Will the TIPRA Motha play the role of the kingmaker? Or will the TMC grab a major chunk of constituencies in Tripura? We are not too far away from the answers, but before we get there, it is important that we discuss some of the core issues related to this year's polls. Voting for the 60 constituencies began today at 7 a.m. and as of 9 a.m., 14% voting has already been done. You can see the visuals from polling stations on your screen as voters from different walks of life lined up to cast their votes. A total of 259 candidates are in fray as voting will be carried out in 3,337 polling stations where 28 lakh over 28 lakh voters will choose who will form the next government. You can see the visuals of polling stations from across the state on your screen as women voters as well as first-time voters have queued up to cast their mandate at the various polling stations across Tripura. So these are the visuals from earlier today as polling for the 60 assembly constituencies commenced at 7 a.m. Today morning, and over 28 lakh voters will cast their over 2 crore voters will cast their vote today. Let me remind our viewers, as of 9 a.m., around 14% voting has already been done, and people from different walks of life have come out, have been queued up, have been lining up since 7 a.m. in the morning to cast their votes. So far, voting process has been peaceful and no untoward incident has been reported. Earlier in the morning today, Chief Minister Manik Saha also went to cast his vote at Agartala. He was accompanied by security officials, and he even lined up to cast his vote at one of the polling stations in Agartala. On your screen are the visuals of Manik Saha at the polling stations in Agartala.
সকাল গিয়ে সবাই যাতে ওনাদের যে অধিকার, ভোট দেওয়ার অধিকার, সেটাকে যেন এবং শ্রেষ্ঠ ত্রিপুরা আগামী দিনের ভবিষ্যতের যে আমরা ত্রিপুরা বানানোর জন্য আমরা আমাদের সরকার এবং আমাদের পার্টি যে প্রতিশ্রুতি দিয়েছি সেইভাবে আপনারা আমাদের এই ভোটের মাধ্যমে আমাদের
দু একটি বিশৃঙ্খল ঘটনার খবর উঠে এসেছে সেই জায়গা থেকে দাঁড়িয়ে নির্বাচন কমিশনকে কি গোটা বিষয়টি দেখার,
নির্বাচন কমিশনের কাছে আমরা বলবো এগুলো দেখার জন্য এই ধরনের হামলা বরদাস্ত করা উচিত এবং এই কালচার তো বহুদিন ধরে ত্রিপুরা, এর থেকে মানুষ মুক্তি চেয়েছিল, যে কারণে 2018-তে আমাদের সরকার এসেছে। এখন আবার একসাথে মিলে এই কাজগুলো করছে। আমরা কোন অবস্থায়
उम्मीद क्या है, माने एक बार पीएम कांग्रेस एक बार हुआ है,
इससे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, और ज़्यादा मिलेगा, इसलिए तो अलायंस एक साथ हो गया, क्योंकि एक दूसरे को ये कभी भी त्रिपुरावासी ये कांग्रेस के साथ ये जो अलायंस है मान नहीं रहा है।
लेकिन बोल रहे हैं तो अलग बोल रहे हैं कि
ये तो फ्रस्ट्रेटेड है, ये फ्रस्ट्रेटेड है, तब जाके अलायंस किया।
लेकिन आपने भी तो पीएम आए हैं, अमित शाह जी आए हैं,
आना चाहिए, तो हमेशा आते हैं, हर जगह जाते हैं, हमारे गार्जियन है, वो आना ही है, वो तो आते हैं। हम लोग कौन है,
आसाम से भी सीएम आए थे,
तो बात है, हम भी जाते हैं बहुत सारी जगह।
दादा সামনে বল না এই দাদা আরে ক্যামেরা ঢুকছে আরে এলসি ঢুকছে
আরে ভাইয়া নিচে নামো না
কার এলসি ঢুকছে পাচ্ছিল এলসি ঢুকছে আপনি চোখানো এখন কাকু তুমি আপনি চোখানো আরে বাড়িতে এখন আপনি চোখানো
সকাল সকাল গিয়ে সবাই যাতে ত্রিপুরাতে আগামী দিন ত্রিপুরাতে যেন শান্তি প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয় যেভাবে গত 5 বছর ধরে ভারতীয় জনতা পার্টি সরকার আসার পর যেভাবে শান্তি শৃঙ্খলা এবং আমাদের
सुनो डिसिप्लिन कर लो सर खड़े हैं 2 सेकंड
যেভাবে এখানে ভালো চলছিল সেইভাবে যেন আগামী দিন থাকে এবং প্রধানমন্ত্রী নরেন্দ্র মোদীজির আশীর্বাদে যেন ত্রিপুরাতে এক ত্রিপুরা শ্রেষ্ঠ ত্রিপুরা বানাতে পারি এবং ডেভেলপমেন্ট হচ্ছে আমাদের মুখ্য উদ্দেশ্য সব মানুষের জন্য যেন আমরা কাজ করি
सर हिंदी में क्या वोट सोच के
will people vote for development but tribal area people are saying development is not taking
देखिए हम लोग तो ऑलरेडी बोल चुके हैं प्रधानमंत्री रहेंगे और हमेशा ट्राइबल एरिया के लिए वो हमेशा सोचते हैं और देखिए हम लोग रिपोर्ट कार्ड लेके सरकार के पास आप जहाँ तक ट्राइबल का सेंटिमेंट का बात हो जी प्रधानमंत्री जी आने के बाद त्रिपुरा में 5 ट्राइबल लीडर्स को लीजेंड को अभी पद्मश्री दिया हुआ है यहाँ ट्राइबल महाराजा जो थे इनका नाम से एयरपोर्ट हम लोग प्रधानमंत्री जी यहाँ की इनोग्रेट किया इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट आप जरूर देखे होंगे कितना अच्छा एयरपोर्ट है और वीर विक्रम किशोर माणिक्य बहादुर के नाम से दिया फिर आप देखिए यहाँ पर हम लोग का उनका गरिया पूजा हुआ गरिया पूजा को हम लोग 2 दिन छुट्टी तैयार के प्रधानमंत्री जी यहाँ पर आने के बाद पूरा ट्राइबल के लिए उन्होंने बात किया देखिए और सिर्फ वो नहीं है हम लोग का देखिए उनका ये महाराजा वीर विक्रम किशोर माणिक्य बहादुर का 19 अगस्त उनका जन्मदिन है वो भी हम लोग छुट्टी घोषणा किए प्री मैट्रिक पोस्ट मैट्रिक ट्राइबल लोगों का जो स्टूडेंट उनको जो स्टाइपेंड उसको भी बढ़ती किए और इनका रहने का बंदोबस्त किए हम लोग रेस्ट हाउस गेस्ट हाउस हॉस्टल सभी जगह और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ त्रिपुरा हर सब्जेक्ट में हम लोग 30 to 35% इनका जो बजट बढ़ाए हम
सर आज आप वोट डाल के आ रहे हैं कितने कॉन्फिडेंट है क्या नंबर देख रहे हैं
अरे कॉन्फिडेंट है कॉन्फिडेंट
Sir, will it be a peaceful election? Will it be a peaceful election?
त्रिपुराते
So that was Tripura Chief Minister Manik Saha who cast his vote earlier today at a polling station in Agartala. Well, Manik, while speaking to the media, he said that the BJP's prime agenda is development, and he is confident that the people will vote for development as over 2 crore voters line up to cast their votes today. It is important to mention that the state is already witnessing large voter turnout in all the polling stations since the morning. Unlike previous elections and urban by local body polls, people have gathered at the polling stations since early in the morning. But before we move ahead, please allow us to refresh your memories and let us take a look at what had happened in 2018. The BJP in alliance with the IPFT ended the over 2-decade rule of the CPIM, and on 9th March 2018, a young and dedicated Karyakarta of the RSS and the BJP took oath as the Chief Minister of the state. That was not all though. He was also seen touching former Chief Minister Manik Sarkar's feet, seeking his blessings. On your screen are the visuals from 2018 when young Chief Minister Biplab Deb took oath as BJP overthrowed the over 2-decade rule of the CPIM in Tripura. He was also seen touching Manik Sarkar's feet and seek blessings from him as he took oath as the Chief Minister back in 2018. The crowd roared when leaders from two different ends of the spectrum, the right wing and the left front, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Manik Sarkar shared the same stage and even greeted each other. After the end of the swearing-in ceremony, they were also seen walking out of the stage together.
এখন রাজ্যের মাননীয় মুখ্য সচিব শ্রী সঞ্জীব রঞ্জন মহোদয় নিয়ম অনুযায়ী শপথ গ্রহণ অনুষ্ঠানের কার্যক্রম
The BJP had contested in 51 seats and won 36 seats in 2018 with 10,25,670 votes. The alliance partner, the Indigenous People's Front of TIPRA land, contested in 9 seats and won in 8. They got a total of 1,73,603 votes, whereas the CPIM, which was in power until then, contested in 57 seats but could only win in 16. However, the vote margin was not much. While the BJP had won with 10,25,670 votes, the CPIM got 9,93,605 votes, a difference of only around 32,000 votes. And don't be amazed, I did not do the math right away. It had already been calculated before we entered the studio. Anyway, moving on, the TMC, which has been carrying out massive campaigns this time with star campaigners like Mamata Banerjee, Abhishek Banerjee, Shushmita Dev and many others, had also contested in 2018. The TMC contested in 24 seats but could not win any of them. They could manage only 6,989 votes. We have come a long way since then, and a lot has changed since then. Leaders have jumped ships, new political parties have emerged and new alliances have been formed and many more. But before we move ahead, let me update you on the voting process. Voting for the 60 constituencies began today at 7 a.m. and as of 9 a.m. around 14% of voting has already been done. You can see the visuals on the screen as people from different walks of life lined up to cast their mandate since 7 a.m. today morning. All the polling stations across the state are witnessing large number of voter turnout. And I would like to correct myself here. The total number of voters in the state is actually around 30 lakh. So over 30 lakh people will choose who will form the government in Tripura in 2023. Go down, go down.
দাদা ফিসের তারা একটু ধরেন না কিরে তুই এদিকে মনে তুই এদিকে
Joining me in the studio is Amit Kumar, Executive Editor of EastMojo. Welcome, Amit. March 4, 2018 was a historic day for the BJP in Tripura. They had toppled over 2-decade regime of the Left Front and went on to form the government with the IPFT by their side. But a lot has changed and a lot has happened since then. We have seen leaders jumping ships, parties being completely disseminated, and then a lot of new parties have also emerged. So if we look at the political developments, one major thing that happened in over the past 5 years was the change of face in the chief minister as the chief minister of the state, and also Tripura Motha quitting the BJP and joining the Congress. So how do you look at it?
Yeah, in fact, that was the Ghar Vapsi that kind of kick-started this election, if we have to speak, make it so. When Tripura Motha and the journeyman that he is, left Congress, joined TMC, then came to BJP, helped form the government, was a minister, kept running into troubles with Biplab Dev. It was clearly not working out between them, and at that time, there's no way BJP would have taken any action against Biplab Dev. So Tripura Motha was the one who was shown the exit door. He came back to Congress and then he quit being an MLA, and I think for a lot of people in the national media, they didn't notice what was happening at that time. They didn't realize the gravity of the situation till the CM quit. But for us, we realized that is when things were not, that great with the party.
Exactly.
That was reflected when the by-polls happened and Tripura Motha managed to win again on a BJP, this time on a Congress seat again. So thereby also bringing back the Congress into the foray, because Congress was zero. So with Tripura Motha, they also got a new lease of life. So.
Exactly. I mean, back when Congress, back in 2018, when Congress had contested, they had contested in 59 seats and had won in 10 seats. However, towards the end of the 5-year term, they were left with only one MLA, that was Tripura Motha.
Exactly.
And every other MLA who had either jumped ships or either resigned from their position were not re-elected. So that almost turned out to be the end of Congress
exactly
in the government.
And that I think kind of sums up the Congress in the Northeast. We've seen, like, in 11 days we'll be looking at Meghalaya and we'll be talking about how the party that technically should have formed the government pretty much, as emerging as the largest party, now does not have a single MLA left. So last year again, remember Manipur, again the same thing happened in Manipur also. So this is something that Congress not being able to control its leaders has always been a perennial problem now for the Congress for the past few years. So that was reflected, and that's why I think had Tripura Motha not jumped ship and come back to Congress, despite the alliance, we would not have been actually talking about Congress. We would have still been like we call it Congress CPM alliance, but we are almost equating them as equals. Although CPM and Congress are not equal, but the very fact that Congress is even in the same conversation today is because of Tripura Motha. Because when we did a story, and we recently did a story on women voters, and one of the candidates also said that BJP candidate accepted that no matter which party Tripura Motha is in, he will get votes, and that shows that ideologies apart, it is him who pulls votes no matter which party he contests for. So that is something that we have to keep in mind, and whether he alone can steady the Congress ship, because Congress ship is our favorite joke also. We know that every few months we'll do some stories on Congress. So whether that happens is only something we'll know on March the 2nd, but for now he has brought back Congress into the conversation, which itself is an achievement.
Exactly, and the alliance with the CPIM is being talked about a lot. It is, and the Congress has been, they have been campaigning actively across the state, along with former Chief Minister Manik Sarkar, campaigning for the Congress, since they are alliance partners. And how do you look at it? Does it bring back hope for the Congress, to come to, maybe if the CPIM Congress alliance wins, maybe they'll be in power?
See, if we
pardon me sorry to interrupt you again. Sure. See, this alliance, if we look at it, before the BJP came into the scene, they have been at loggerheads.
Exactly.
Until
that's what
2018.
That's what I was going to get to. So here's the thing. If I have to put it very simply, it's the enemy of the enemy is my friend, right? So across the country, the rise of BJP has brought coalitions that you never thought would have been possible. Like I'll not be surprised if say 2 years from now TMC and CPM come together to fight the BJP in say Bengal, for example. I mean, didn't happen last year, but the point I'm making is that it's no longer about ideology, because everything that the left opposes, or everything that the Congress has been in support of, the left has opposed in the past, and they were historically enemies and they have always been blaming each other. But now with the rise of BJP, and in Northeast, I think as we have discussed so many times, it's not the party, it's the person that matters much more. So you see leaders jumping ship so often that a person who is espousing left and communism to next day becomes a BJP person, right? So the switch is so smooth in our country that it doesn't matter which party you are in. It's an alliance of convenience, but it's also an alliance that many people will see as opposition finally accepting the reality as it is. You cannot defeat the BJP just on your own. I mean, only some parties have managed to do that, and that has required a lot of. That is something that we cannot expect in Tripura right now, because it's also a new government. Let's not forget. So despite talks of anti-incumbency, I don't see so much of anti-incumbency right now. It's only been 5 years, and let's not forget that. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but whether it was Bengal or Tripura, Bengalis like to keep voting for one government. So the people who voted for 25 years for one government, I don't see them shifting en masse to another government within 5 years. So that is where the Congress CPM alliance comes into picture. If they can somehow theoretically combine their votes, then only then can they defeat the BJP, because alone neither of them would have been able to manage.
Exactly. Another important event that took place in Tripura's political scenario is the return of Pradyut Debbarma with TIPRA Motha. Now, back when he announced TIPRA Motha's formation, it was a social organization. How important do you think Pradyut's role will be in this election? He is being termed as the kingmaker, or possibly he'll have some an important role to play in the election results, but especially after his relationship with the BJP, which went sour after the BJP said that they will not consider any kind of division in Tripura, especially in the map of Tripura.
No, I mean, frankly speaking, our jobs here would have been very boring if Tripura had not emerged, because let's not forget that the BJP and IPFT had in 2018 completely taken over the tribal belt, so to speak, by winning 18 of the 20 seats together. So without Tripura, there was nobody to challenge them in the tribal area, and the Bengali majority population had anyways voted for them in in 2018. And without Pradyut, I think the election would have not been fought on the issues that are being raised now. Let's not forget that IPFT also had demanded for a separate statehood, right? But we know what happened with that demand. Something we'll discuss later in the show also. But the thing that Pradyut has done is he's made the election a very active process. You're not hearing so much of his speeches are not about giving knowledge. It's more about, like as our editor-in-chief also said, these are discussions. You see people getting actively involved. You see people from the grassroots getting involved to a point where they think that they have a stake here, and that is where I think it makes a huge difference. He's completely changed the scenario in Tripura, and some people are even saying that why are we only talking about Tripura in terms of indigenous vote, because they are also going contesting in so many non-ST seats. So I see them, they have also stated a claim that they want to not just speak for the tribals but for all the marginalized people. So that is something that he's been able to. That is where I think he's been able to completely change the discussions around the elections, and he's shown that a tribal party doesn't have to only talk about tribals all the time. Technically he's contesting more non-tribal seats than tribal seats, right? He's contesting on 42 seats, 22 are on general and SC seats, and 20 are STs. So by fighting on more non-ST seats than ST seats, he's showing that it is it's about time that it's not unfair for tribal focused parties to ask for general votes. If general focused parties can ask for tribal votes, as BJP has done in the past, Tripura has every right to do so. Exactly.
So it's not just the tribal areas that TIPRA Motha is focusing on, but also the general voters. To give us more updates on the political developments in Tripura, I am being joined by Mr. Shekhar Datta, the editor-in-chief of TripuraInfo.com, which is a news platform based in Tripura. Good morning, Mr. Datta. Thank you for joining us and welcome to EastMojo.
Thank you.
Mr. Datta, let me update you on the discussion that me and my colleague here and the executive editor of EastMojo, Amit Kumar, were having. So we were talking about the emergence of TIPRA Motha and what role it might play in the formation of the next government and how important a role will TIPRA Mothas be. So I would like your inputs here. So how do you look at the emergence of TIPRA Motha and the transformation from a social organization to a political party?
Actually, emergence of TIPRA Motha as a regional party is nothing new in Tripura because Tripura has been having regional parties since the year 1967. So TIPRA Motha is the latest addition to this. It has been actually an NGO. But before the 2021 ADC election, our Western Project Kishore had become very much interested in politics. He had earlier been, of course, PCC president, but he gave up his presidency because of differences with the party over the CAA issue. But then he became a leader of TIPRA Motha. And TIPRA Motha captured the space that has been taken by IPFT. IPFT had raised the demand for TIPRA land without specifically defining it. And thus it caught the imagination of the tribal people and they had won 8 seats in the last assembly election in 2018. But then it could do nothing about it. The demand for TIPRA Motha. TIPRA land. BJP rejected this demand and they could do nothing, so they joined ministry and enjoy power. This place was captured by TIPRA Motha and Pradyut Kishore himself was at the helm, and since he belongs to the royal family, he had a glamour and aura about him. And the tribal people traditionally in Tripura have been loyal to the royal family. So this helped him carve out a niche for himself with the tribals. And this demand for greater TIPRA land, which interestingly has never been defined by him or any other leader of his party, again impressed the tribals and they rallied behind him.
So, sorry to interrupt you. Like you mentioned, the
election held in the year 2021, it captured the ADC. And now it is trying to win as many seats as possible in the assembly election being held today.
So I would like to, I'll have to interrupt you here for a second, if you can hear me.
Which is a force, and if it manages to...
Sir, can you hear me? I think we've lost connection with Mr. Datta, but we'll keep trying to get him back online. And I think yes, he is online. Yes, Mr. Datta, pardon me, I think there was some problem with the connection. Can you please continue? You were saying. So yeah, so Mr. Datta, before we continue, I have a question here. So you said that Pradyut Manikya Debbarma never defined the idea of Greater TIPRA land. Can you please elaborate a little on this, please?
No, he is demanding Greater TIPRA land or TIPRA land. Now he has not specifically defined it. What he actually means by Greater TIPRA land or TIPRA land is not clear. He may mean a separate state to be carved out of the ADC areas by the demand for TIPRA land, and the demand for Greater TIPRA land is still very hazy. It is undefined because at the very initial stage he had once made a comment that areas having Tripuri population in the neighboring Barakbari district of Assam or the state of Mizoram, and even in part of Chittagong hill tract of Bangladesh would form part of his Greater TIPRA land, which he dreams of. But that is not possible because neither Assam nor Mizoram will cede its territory
for Greater Tripura, and then the question of Bangladesh does not arise at all because it's a sovereign and independent country.
Exactly.
Yeah. And having once said this, he backed out. He did not say anything more on this. But still he has been harping on his demand for Greater Tripura land, Greater Tripura land. That is the main problem. And even Tripura land is not clearly defined. He has never said that Tripura land is to be formed as a separate state out of the ADC areas.
Okay. But Mr. Datta, he is also not just focusing on the tribal population. TIPRA Motha is also contesting in a lot of non-tribal areas. So how do you look at it? He is also, do you see that he is also trying to woo the non-tribal voters here?
Yes, he is partially he is trying to woo the non-tribal voters to make an impression on them. But in these non-tribal seats, he will be able to get a chunk of votes that will determine the final outcome of these constituencies. And that is how he wants to play a key role in the post-election scenario.
Okay. And another important thing, yeah, that's a very important thing. And in fact, you mentioned that he is also trying to target the woo voters in the non-tribal constituencies. Can you please mention the few constituencies that will, that where it might be interesting to, where it might have an interesting contest between TIPRA Motha and the other parties?
Let's say the number 2 constituency, Mohanpur.
Okay.
Where the Education Minister Ratan Lal Nath is fighting. And in fact, he has been elected from this constituency 6 times already. So there we have say around 15,000 tribal votes.
Okay.
If these tribal votes go in favor of TIPRA Motha, then the Ratan Lal Nath will have to fight a hard battle with his Congress rival. But ultimately, Ratan Lal Nath will emerge winner. It seems. Even if the tribal votes go in favor of TIPRA Motha. Traditionally, he has been getting the major share of these tribal votes. But this time, even if TIPRA Motha takes away a large chunk, he will be able to manage to win. He
Okay.
will be able to retain the seat. It is our assessment.
Okay.
And there is another constituency, Mozdishpur. Mozdishpur, that is say 25 kilometers east of Agartala.
Yes, yes.
Even in that constituency, there is a sizable section of tribal voters, say around 40,000. They may play a key role in determining the final outcome in that constituency, where the Information Minister Sushanta Chaudhary is
Exactly.
fighting his CPIM rival.
Okay,
So
Mr.
we
Datta,
have to see.
Mr. Datta, my colleague Amit here has also has a question. Over to you, Amit.
Mr. Datta, so much has been talked about TIPRA Motha and its influence in the indigenous belt that some people have forgotten that the BJP won half the seats alone in the last elections, and even in the TTADC they won 9 of the 11 seats they contested. Other 3 were friendly fights. So, do you think that somewhere we have miscalculated or overestimated what TIPRA is capable, and we have forgotten that BJP has a very strong hold in the tribal belt? Do you think we are making that mistake somewhere?
No. No, in fact, because BJP did perform very well in tribal areas in the last assembly election.
Yes.
I think they had won 10 seats.
Yes. 10 for them and 8 for IPFT. So, yeah, they combined they had 18 of the 20 seats, yes.
Yeah. But unfortunately, BJP has not nursed these areas very well. People of them never allowed the BJP's tribal front to function independently or autonomously.
Okay.
And the tribal leaders the BJP have are very upset because their suggestions were never taken in. They had chalked out an organizational program to win over the entire tribal belt.
Yes.
Which they could do if they tried seriously, but they were not allowed to work properly.
Yeah.
And autonomously in these areas.
Yeah, the 2018 manifesto also, they had 100 model villages, they had a separate manifesto for the tribal areas, right, if I am not mistaken. And they had talked about creating 100 model villages, universities, public health and all that.
many things they had talked about in
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
But none of these promises has been fulfilled. That is the main problem.
Yeah. And sir,
It is,
sir, one thing
BJP
that I would like to know from you, what has been the impact of TMC? Like it came with a lot of noise, but it absolutely failed in the urban local body elections, civic elections, and since then the TMC seems a little down. Like it doesn't seem to have the same energy that, say, for example, we are seeing in Meghalaya. Do you think TMC will?
TMC is known here as a vote cutter party.
Yeah.
And many people say that TMC has come here only to help BJP by cutting into opposition votes. So TMC will not be able to make an impact. It will say secure around 100 or 200 odd votes per constituency, nothing more.
That's a
TMC will not be able to impact this election.
Okay. So do you think TMC? Do you think TMC has a future in Tripura, or do you think it is just like there to create noise, but it will not going to have much of an impact?
No, it will never have an impact. I mean, in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
And it has come, I think, only to get a few votes so that they are get recognition as nothing more.
Okay.
The TMC doesn't have a streamlined organization. It doesn't have a proper leadership. And overall, it has no impact. Moreover, TMC's horrible record in West Bengal is very well known to the people of Tripura, because the people of Tripura have very close contact
Of course.
with Calcutta and other parts of West Bengal. They know what is happening there. And TMC's horrible track record have already disillusioned people. And Mamata doesn't have her earlier charisma or glamour.
Okay.
There was a time whenever Mamata used to come here, she would draw huge crowds, but we just stopped.
So, back in 2018, when the TMC had contested, they had won around 7,000 votes. So, is it fair to say that this time it will be, how do you say, will it be even worse this time because of TMC's reputation in the West Bengal regarding violence and
They will be lucky if they retain the votes they had secured in 2008.
Okay.
That's a big claim. That's a big claim.
Okay, so another important topic that we have to discuss about is the role of IPFT, especially after the TT-ADC elections. It was seen that the IPFT was completely disseminated, whereas the BJP, could gain more grounds in the ADC areas. The IPFT completely lost its roots. So, how do you see it? Will the IPFT be able to revive, especially a senior leader like Mr. N.C. Debbarma, after the demise of Mr. N.C. Debbarma, and only left with most of their leaders jumping ships to other parties?
IPFT is as good as politically dead. It will never be able to revive. And I don't think they will win even a single seat. No, they are contesting only 5. And after N.C. Debbarma's death, there is nobody to lead the party with a new ideology or new slogan. So IPFT has no hope. Its vote base has been taken over by TIPRA Motha. And it will lose very quickly, 5 seats.
Okay, and so is it fair to say that this is going to be a conventional or traditional election like the BJP and the IPFT alliance versus the CPIM and Congress alliance then?
Not that directly, because this is the first time Congress and CPIM have come to a formed an alliance. So we are also keeping our fingers crossed to see the effect. It seems the alliance has reached grassroots level, because the workers and cadres of CPIM and Congress are working together, have been working together ever since the alliance was announced. So this will have an impact. The IPF is dead. BJP is particularly left alone in tribal areas.
But then again, the voters of Tripura know their history. They have always seen Congress and CPIM being on opposite
there
sides.
is a problem with audio.
Am I audible, sir? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you properly.
Okay, please stay with us, sir. I will get back to you shortly. In fact, a few days ago, I would like to refresh the memories of our subscribers and viewers of YouTube. EastMojo editor-in-chief, Mr. Karma Paljor, also spoke to the Royal Scion a few days ago, and he had very interesting things to say regarding the Greater TIPRA land demand and the BJP. If we can have the interview on screen for our viewers.
Talked about the BJP, they've been trying to reach out to you. They've reached out to you several times. You held a meeting with the MHA even, but you held your ground.
See, BJP has a washing machine. Anyone who they think is tainted and who has something, they enter the BJP and they become clean the next day. And then they also think that there is another washing machine which they try to forcefully put people in. And then you come out with a different tone and tenor. I don't want to be in anybody's washing machine. I have my own agenda. Today, the BJP is calling me that we want to separate the geography of Tripura into two states. I've always spoken about the political administration of Tripura, separation of that. I've never spoken about the territorial administration. These guys know what my demand is. They knew it for the last 2 years. Only last week when I said no to them, now they've started saying that we cannot talk to them. Why did they invite us if they thought that I would back down from my point of view? They tried to basically soften me, but I cannot be softened because I'm answerable to my people. What do I go and tell my people? That I was assured of MPship, or was I chief ministership, ministership, anything, money? So I've changed my stance. See, everybody goes. Karma, you're a Buddhist. You believe in karma as well, right? Everybody has to go one day. Do you take this palace? Do you take all the sone ka bartan and your money and you go up? No, you take good name. And I want a good name. That's about it. And I can only get the good name if my people think and know that I fought for them.
You talked about the BJP, they've been trying to reach
that
out
was
to you. They've reached out.
EastMojo editor-in-chief, Mr. Karma Paljor, speaking to the Royal Scion, Pradyut Manika Deb Burma, and the chief of TIPRA Motha. You can watch the full interview on our YouTube channel. We'll also add the link in the description below. Meanwhile, the performance of TIPRA Motha in the TTADC elections was a crucial stepping stone in the party's growth. Like we were discussing earlier, Amit, I would like to come to you again on this. So, is it fair to say that the delay of TTADC elections in holding the elections also gave enough time to the TIPRA Motha to strengthen their roots and build their base in the
I think so.
rural areas?
Initially, let's also not. I think more than that, what happened is it further broke IPFT. See, the IPFT was an ally, right? And as an ally, it was made to believe that it had almost equal stake in the government, right? And it was at that time it was the only party that was representing the indigenous population. And before that, you never had like an organization like IPFT having so many votes and all that kind of stuff. So what happened is, I think there it made a huge difference, because not only did it give give time to TIPRA to strengthen through humanitarian work during COVID and other issues, but it also, what happened is, if you remember, there were lots of arguments between the BJP and the IPFT over seat sharing. IPFT, let us not forget, initially wanted to contest 27 seats out of the 28, because they were like, it's our territory, we will contest. BJP clearly was not comfortable with that idea. So, initially 27, finally it came to 17 and 11 split. And that's when you realize that IPFT realized that, let alone the demand for TIPRA land, they were finding it difficult even to fight elections in their own territory on their own terms. And that's where I think TIPRA could sense it very clearly, that IPFT is no longer in charge of what is being made to, it was given the look that it is the tribal party, but as Mr. Datta also said that Biplab, they never really allowed that to continue, never allowed the tribal wing of the BJP to have its own voice, have its own agenda, despite giving them so much space during the manifesto. And TIPRA is let's not forget that Pradyut Manikya, TIPRA is not very old, but but Pradyut is a seasoned leader, and that's one thing that the Congress has done, is that every leader is seasoned that way. When he came and he started his own party, he was finally he could let himself fly, and that's when he realized that there's so much that he can speak in favor of indigenous people, because the BJP had given them space. As Mr. Datta said, they did not do much despite promising. And whenever there is the ground for discontent, there is always space for appealing to the people, right? That is where he stepped in. So the election, I think, as much as it helped Tripura, it also broke IPFT. And the results from there on, and IPFT, as Mr. Datta said, it's no longer what kind of party goes down on the number of seats. Like it contested more seats than last time. This time they have been given 5 seats. So that's as much pretty much a handover to. So for example, even if they win every seat, they will come to power with less MLAs than previous, right? And that means that if they did not manage to get what they demanded in 2018 and 23, what are the chances that BJP will listen to them now? So there's also that.
Okay. So we are also being joined by our correspondent in Tripura, Mr. Mrinal Banik. Mrinal, thank you for joining us, and a very good morning to you as well. If you can hear.
Yes, Kalyan, yes, sir.
Yes. So before we move forward with the discussions, can you quickly give us an update? What is the polling scenario in Tripura?
The polling scenarios in the morning, large queues have been seen in the polling stations across the state. There are no incidents of violence so far. There are no reports of any kind of booth jamming, booth capturing, which are, kind of common in Tripura elections. So far, there are no reports of any kind of EVM malfunctioning. So the election is going on smoothly, and large number of people have turned up in the polling stations in the morning. Large queues have been noticed everywhere, and the women's participation is also very higher.
So yes, exactly. In fact, we can see the visuals on the screen that people in large numbers have come out to cast their vote since right from 7 a.m. and a lot of people have queued up at the various polling stations across the state. In fact, over 3,000 polling stations across the state. What is the security scenario there, Mrinal?
Security scenario is also good. It has been a very strong security arrangements everywhere. The normal polling stations have been covered by half section of the security personnel, while in the critical and vulnerable areas, there are 1,100 polling stations which have been marked as critical and vulnerable, sensitive. So there, a full section has been deployed. Apart from that, in the areas to build confidence among the voters, the regular patrolling is being carried out everywhere.
Okay. Thank you for the update. But Mrinal, we will now get back to the topic that me and Amit were discussing here. So we were talking about the role of TIPRA Motha and the emergence of TIPRA Motha, and how important a role will Pradyut Manikya Debbarma will play. So we have seen the emergence during the TTAADC elections, and do you think that now it is being considered as a replacement of the IPFT in a way? And how do the people look at him when they see a royal scion as coming among the people, participating in rallies, talking to people in person? So how is it going to change the political scenario?
The political scenario, the emergence of the first thing which I can say that Tripura is traditionally a fight between two political parties, but now with the emergence of TIPRA, not two political parties, it will be two fronts basically. But with the emergence of TIPRA, now the contest is triangular, because for the first time, any regional TIPRA is the first political party which has not gone for an alliance with any national parties or mainstream parties, as they call it. So, and apart from that, in the tribal areas, in the 20 tribal seats, I don't think any political party can challenge TIPRA in most of the seats. So this is the scene right now.
Okay, stay with us, Mrinal. Amit, I would like to come to you here. It was not just TIPRA Motha. In fact, we saw the BJP winning a major chunk of seats in the TTADC areas. So, along with TIPRA Motha, do you think that the BJP is also making its roots stronger in the tribal areas?
In 2001 I would have said so, but as Mr. Datta pointed out, see, in 2021 when people voted for the BJP in TTADC, they also knew that the government still had 2 years to go. And let's not forget, this was just after the pandemic, right? So people were hoping that, okay, 2 years of pandemic, a lot of work was not done, so fine, we'll give them 2 more years and hope that things will come into shape. As I said, BJP had made like amazing promises, including providing like 100 model villages. So these are not promises that you can just make and be like, okay, if maybe, okay, fine, given the pandemic you could not make 100 villages, but 20, 30, 25, whatever, at least if they are, see, the thing is, I think the reason why, as Mrinal also said and Mr. Datta also said, the anger against BJP for the tribals is not just that what happened with IPFT, because that's understandable, that's how politics is. People are also not foolish, they understand that politics works in that way. But it was that BJP was not speaking to the tribals only through IPFT, right? They had its own wing, they had its own MLAs who had promised so much to the tribals, right? The fact that none of them were delivering is the reason why people have moved, seem to have moved at least in mass to TIPRA. So BJP, while it has, let's also not forget that a lot of in what happens after like 15, like in Assam for example, after 15 years of Congress, the vote was not so much for BJP as much as it was anti-Congress. Right, so anti-incumbency plays a huge factor. So BJP of course benefited from that in the tribal areas, just as it benefited from the same in the Bengali majority areas. So 2018 BJP, yes, like across the country, and people had hope from them. This time they have, as I've said in previously also, they have done some work, sure, definitely they have. I genuinely believe that 2023 Tripura is in a better situation than 2018 Tripura in terms of key factors like public health, infrastructure. So there is that, but I think what happened is the space that tribals were expecting in the government, the fact that they would be able to speak for their own culture, for their own rights, the fact that TTADC will get more money, we will see more money coming in through infrastructure projects and all, that has not happened. That power transfer, so to speak, has not been smooth at all, if at all. So now in 2023 the BJP has its work cut out completely in the tribal areas if it has to make a claim. And so far things seem to be indicating that if it does come to power, it will be mostly because of the voting in the Bengali area, because the tribal vote seems to have shifted away from the BJP. This is reflected in two things: the fact that the IPFT has lesser seats to contest this time, so BJP is kind of giving up on its ally, and secondly the rise of TIPRA Motha is not just, we can keep talking about whether it's a crowd, but we have been on the ground. Karma was on the ground. He's also been amazed at the support that TIPRA has been receiving, and we have been writing about TIPRA for years now. So even last year when there was no election in sight, every time Pradyot has held a meeting also, the numbers have been absolutely amazing. And as you see here, it's interesting that you see so many women, like, featuring majorly, because in TIPRA I could very well say that the reason TIPRA stands where it is today is because of the way women have come out and supported
Yes,
TIPRA.
in fact we saw it during the TTADC elections as well. After TIPRA Motha's win, there were a lot of women supporters and party workers who were women and who had come out on the streets rallying for TIPRA Motha and doing campaigns from door to door, and then celebrations were they were also involved in celebrations.
In fact, last year all the scuffles that we have been talking about, that's what our documentary also talks about. Interestingly, you don't see so many scuffles and nearly as much violence in the tribal areas, and that is also because women have led it from the front. At the same time, importantly, the women have not stopped protesting. I remember when Revati Tripura had come to the TTADC area, she faced a lot of protest, but it was almost exclusively women who were out there to protest. So TIPRA has also done this smart thing where it has not only, let's not forget, TIPRA has nominated 6 women for elections. Absolutely unheard of numbers in context of a regional party. Like, we have been covering Northeast for quite a while now. We know that regional parties don't like to nominate women, like let's say NPA for example. They don't nominate women at all in Nagaland or Manipur. But this time TIPRA has taken the lead. They have nominated 6 women, including not only putting women on non-ST seats, but also I think there is at least one woman who is also not a tribal. So she is from the Bengali community and she is fighting on behalf of TIPRA. Also, this was reflected, as you said, in the TTADC, because even TTADC has one more MDC member, of female MDC member, and of course she was from TIPRA. So Pradyot has done this very smartly, because he has realized that within the marginalized community, women are much more marginalized, and he sought to bring it out. Even in his rallies, he's made sure that in his rallies the women still get to speak for themselves. He's there to support them. He's not there to become the star of the rally. So he's provided them with a lot of platform, and this is something that Mrinal has also written about extensively, and that is where I think the party, and let's not forget the appeal to youth, the way TIPRA has rejuvenated the youth, indigenous youth.
Exactly.
That is something, and that it's almost like poetic, right? On one hand you have TIPRA with its support from youth, and then you had NC Debarma, right, who's like so old now, and he should have probably, some would say he should have retired, but that was the IPFT. So with NC Debarma out of picture, IPFT is like almost orphanized, right? Because it doesn't nearly have the same amount. Like, we have been working for so long. Do you see any youth leaders from IPFT having the same presence that TIPRA has, for example?
Exactly. In fact, we are seeing a lot of youth leaders contesting in these elections, representing TIPRA Motha. Mrinal, I would like to come to you here. A lot of youths have been given the platform to this time in several constituencies, not just TIPRA Motha, but from various other parties as well. But since we are talking about TIPRA Motha and its role, so do you think that the youths, especially the new faces, will be able to topple the veteran leaders who have been, MLAs for multiple times? How do you see it? What's the trend on the ground?
TIPRA Motha has brought a change in the regional political culture of regional parties. They have fielded a lot of women candidates, which is a new development, and a lot of youth, people educated, they are, t-shirt, jeans pants wearing people have been given tickets, which is a new phenomenon, and people have also liked this approach of Pradyut Manikya. In a lot of rallies which we have covered extensively, we have seen that he has that sway over the youth voters, and people like his attitude of giving platform to new generation leaders. And whether they can defeat the veteran leaders is a question that could only be answered on March 2. But as far as we see his support in the ground, it is amazing.
Yes, in fact, I would like to update our viewers here, people who have just joined in. Voting for the 60 assembly constituencies began today at 7 a.m. and we have figures of till 9 a.m. and around 14% voting has already been done. People in large numbers have come out to cast their vote right from 7 a.m. and not just men voters but women voters as well, and also transgender voters. The Chief Electoral Officer of Tripura also shared pictures of transgender voters on their Twitter platform, where a large number of transgender voters went out to cast their vote in 13 Pratapgarh Assembly constituency in Ariala area of West Tripura district. So, coming back to TIPRA Motha, the growth of TIPRA Motha in some way came at the cost of the IPFT losing its ground. We have seen a lot of leaders, especially from the IPFT, jumping ships to TIPRA Motha. Following the damage the party suffered in the TTADC elections, several MLAs quit the IPFT and went on to join the TIPRA Motha. If we can have the graphics on the screen, please. The biggest blow came when the former General Secretary Mewar Kumar Jamatia, who was elected from Asarambari constituency, joined the IPFT on November 10, 2022. He also held the Ministry of Tribal Welfare and Forest during Biplab Deb's tenure as the Chief Minister. But this is only the beginning of the list. So, Mrinal, I would like to come to you here. Mewar Kumar Jamatia, he was not just an MLA, he was also given a ministry during Biplab Deb's when Biplab Deb was the Chief Minister. So, what was I would like to hear from you, what was the reason behind him not being happy with the IPFT and then jumping ships to TIPRA Motha?
Actually, IPFT, there are two prominent leaders of IPFT. One was NC Burma, who is unfortunately not with us, and Mewar Kumar Jamatia, who is now in TIPRA. So, when both of them left the party became headless. But to start from the beginning, IPFT, these two leaders always always become united, kept the party united, and this is why. But after 2018 election, a tussle started between IPFT leadership, especially between a faction led by Mewar Kumar Jamatia, where all the organizational leaders used to support him, and others was NC Burma. In the other group, NC Burma was leading, and all the MLAs or the IPFT MLAs was on his side. So this tussle resulted in ultimately resulted the definition of IPFT. When Mewar Kumar Jamatia was the minister after in the cabinet reshuffle, when Dr. Manik Shah became the chief minister, he was dropped from the ministry. He was dropped from the cabinet unceremoniously without any reason.
So that could be one primary reason of him joining the TIPRA Motha?
No, I don't think so, because before that also he was elected the president following the constitution of IPFT. But after that, NC Burma led a coup and he was removed. So it was almost obvious before being dropped from the ministry that it became visible that there is all is not well in the IPFT organization.
Okay, Mrinal, Amit also has a question to ask you. Amit, over to you.
Mrinal, you've been on the ground for all this while now. What has the BJP tribal cadre been, what has been their peg to so to speak, to ask for vote? Well, like the BJP, no matter how much we say, BJP has a very strong cadre presence also. So, what has been their response to all of this? Like, the fact that they were felt sidelined.
The BJP cadre on TIPRA Motha's right.
Yes.
BJP cadre has been they have a system of work. Okay, BJP does not do issue-based politics unlike TIPRA Motha. TIPRA Motha has a core demand of greater TIPRA land, and their organization has been built surrounding that demand. And a lot of people, it's a mass movement. Rather calling it a party, it's a mass movement. On the other hand, BJP has a systematic approach. They have one-to-one contact system. They have their booth level presence. But in the last couple of years, we have seen that even the opposition party of opposition leader of PTADC, Hangsho Kumar Tripura, who was a senior BJP leader, he has joined TIPRA Motha. So this is how all the leading people and the people who can make a difference in terms of politics in the rural areas, in the tribal belt, they have gradually shifted to TIPRA Motha, and this is why TIPRA Motha is so strong now.
Okay, so moving on to it was not just restricted to Mewar Kumar Jamatia, but there were other leaders from the IPFT who had jumped ships to TIPRA Motha. The next IPFT member to jump ships was Brisaketu Debbarma, who was elected from Simna Assembly constituency, he went on to join TIPRA Motha on July 9, 2021. Amit, so it was not just restricted to the former minister, but then there were other leaders as well. And Brisaketu has been seen as a dynamic leader, has been involved a lot in the ground. He is often seen very active on social media and interacting with people on the ground as well.
Exactly, and if you look at the date of joining, this was 2 years ago. So this is not, this is not the time. I mean, if this had happened 2 months ago, for example, we could have said, oh, he's realized the BJP ship is sinking, so he's jumped ship. But this is 2 years ago. So this is even 2 years ago. You could see the rift, and you could see that there was a strong disillusionment with the BJP. And the leadership has seen that. And there is another common factor, that these are all young leaders. So between Mewar Kumar Jamatia and Brisaketu Debbarma, you see that on one hand you have the so-called the co-patriarch along with NC Debbarma, and then in somebody like Brisaketu, you have somebody who's young, upcoming, a leader who doesn't shy away from talking. And when you see that the TIPRA has managed to appeal to both ends, it's not just like, see, you can have a lot of cadre, but if you don't get people who are in power, you don't really make much of a difference. TIPRA, now think of it this way: on one hand you have India's strongest party, which is the BJP right now. There's no, in terms of money, in terms of clout, in terms of presence, in terms of power. And in a state like Tripura, where political violence is so endemic, which is something that will happen in 2 years after election also. So when there is no election in sight, even then there will be fights. In such situations, when somebody jumps from a party like BJP, where they could have stayed, enjoyed the perks, and then maybe later whatever happens, we'll see. But they did not. They jumped to a party which Mrinal or Shikhar Datta or Mr. Pradyut himself said. They jumped a political party with a set organizational structure to join a movement. TIPRA will always be first and foremost a movement. Whether that movement has any logical end or not is only something time will tell us. But the fact that people are so convinced by the points that Pradyut has been raising and TIPRA has been raising, that they are more than comfortable to leave a job of, or to leave something that they have worked so hard to become, like whether an MLA or whether a senior party leader, to join the movement. And that, I think, shows it's not just a good omen for democracy in Tripura, but I also see that is a very, very positive movement in Northeast in general. First, the Congress and the BJP, they have always stymied the growth of political parties, regional parties, and I genuinely believe that for the Northeast, we need regional voices to be stronger than ever. Whether they work with the center or not is another matter, but we need regional voices first and foremost. And I think that's where TIPRA has also helped set up a model. Like remember last year when we had Lorin Jyoti and all, 2 years ago in Assam.
Exactly.
They had a similar movement, but it did not come into shape at all. So I think the rest of Northeast can learn very valuable lessons.
In fact, this time as well, AJP leader Lorin Jyoti had gone to Tripura to campaign in support of TIPRA Motha as well. But the list, however, of leaders who had jumped ships does not end there. Then after Brisaketu, then there was Dhananjay Tripura, IPFT MLA from Raima Valley constituency of Dholai district. He joined the Debbarma led party on October 15, 2022. So back in 2018, the IPFT had 8 MLAs, but now they have 4. After 3 of them went on to join the TIPRA Motha, and the demise of party supremo Mr. NC Debbarma on January 1st, 2023. Whereas the TIPRA Motha, which emerged during the protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act with 0 MLAs, have now 5 known faces who are MLA prospect as MLAs. 3 of them came from the IPFT and Purbo Mohan Tripura, who switched over from the BJP. And interestingly, former MLA Ashish Das has also been figured as the Kamala Sagar Assembly constituency candidate in the Motha list. So the party has altogether fielded 42 candidates so far for the elections to the 60-member house. With this, the party has fielded candidates in 20 ST reserved constituencies and 22 non-ST seats in the state. Mrinal, I would like to come to you here, if you can still hear me. So, the mentioning of Ashish Das as the candidate, as the TIPRA Motha candidate from Kamalasagar Assembly constituency, this is an interesting turn of events, in fact.
Interesting turn of events, but I don't think that Ashish Das makes any impact here. The first of all, the biggest reason is, Ashish Das belongs to Shurma Assembly constituency, for Kamalpur subdivision. And he is now contesting in Subaijala from a constituency which is unknown to him. It is like that, it must be a strategy that the party has some vote share there, so they need someone to send there. So Ashish Das became a suitable candidate because he was an MLA, so he has people know him. So I think that's because of his had before joining